Welcome to the Sales Masters Roundtable hosted by Shawn Casemore.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Sales Masters podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Casemore, and today we've got a special guest, Tim Parkin. Tim, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, Shawn. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
So, and before we dive into it, I like to let you introduce yourself so I don't mess anything up. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do today, and I think they'll pick up on why I thought you'd be a great guest.
Absolutely. I help marketing directors who are overwhelmed and feel lost and alone on an island figure out what to do and how to do it and to prove that it's actually working. And I didn't start in marketing. I started as a magician a long time ago. Excuse me. And realized that, marketing is a lot like magic. And I think today we need a little bit of magic. And you know that you're in sales and this is for sales leaders. And there's a lot of overlap and I would say some conflict between marketing and sales. And I'd love to explore that and discuss it because the world has changed, right? And it keeps changing. And how we market, how we sell keeps changing. And we need to understand better both sides of the equation.
And it is, your point is highly relevant because I'm always telling, if I'm talking to a CEO or an executive that's not in sales, what I'm saying is, sales and marketing are more closely connected at the hip today than they've ever been. And if they're not, that's a problem because it does take that collaborative approach, right? To be able to sell effectively, they need to be working lockstep. So I think your point's
Spot
relevant.
on.
So here's a question for you. If you had a room full of sales leaders, sales executives, directors, VPs, et cetera, even sales managers, what is something you would tell them about marketing today and being able to market effectively that they might not be aware of or they should be aware of?
Well, the first thing I would tell them, Shawn, is that marketing is way more important than sales. I'm kidding.
Boo.
Yeah, right? No, but marketing definitely is important. I think, Peter Drucker said it best that the goal of marketing is to make selling superfluous, that
Yeah.
good marketing makes selling really easy.
Yeah.
And so I think that sales leaders need to recognize the importance, the value of marketing, and in particular, good marketing, because there's a lot of bad marketing out there today, and that's the real challenge. And I think that a lot of salespeople seem to have challenges with marketing, and rightfully so, because of all the bad marketing that's out there. Marketing isn't just about making noise. It's not about who can shout the loudest. It's about who can whisper the right words to get people to turn their heads and pay attention.
Yeah.
And good marketing is about not just attention, but also trust. And that's what helps accelerate the sales conversation as well, right? Is when you have somebody who trusts you, they want to listen, they want to believe you, they want to do business with you. In marketing, there's this old rule of, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. I think trust is the only one that matters, right? Like, I don't care if I like my AC guy or my home repair guy. I just care that I trust them and I know about them to do the job. So I think attention and trust are key. And I think that today, that's what marketers need to focus on. And sales needs to be open to that, one. And then two, work with marketing to help communicate the things that people need to believe in order to trust us.
Yeah.
Because sales has a lot of the keys to the kingdom. They know all the right information. They have all the facts and answers. They talk to so many prospects and customers. But marketing needs that. And a lot of marketing is handicapped because they don't talk to sales or there's not this bridge, as you mentioned, between the two. And so I would say the biggest thing for sales leaders to take away is marketing is actually a good thing. It can help you when done right, but we need your help. Us marketers need help from sales to have the right pieces to do the job that will help sales the most.
It's interesting. I find in my mind, at least when I'm talking to companies, there's kind of two camps as far as marketing, and you could almost qualify the one camp as smaller companies like mid-market, and the other camp as enterprise. But you've got the ones where marketing is just oh yeah, we post on social media. We have a marketing
Right.
person, team, contractor. We do social media posts. I'm like, oh, okay, how does that result in leads, right? Are those marketing posts driving them to reach out? Oh no, they're just awareness building, right? Brand building. And then there's the enterprise where you have a strategy. You've got multiple people in the marketing department working very diligently in all the different channels and things that they're doing to drive leads because that's how they're measured. But then in that camp, oftentimes, as you said, there's a lot of dissension, disagreement. Marketing doesn't like sales because they're not doing anything with the leads I'm creating, and sales doesn't like marketing because the leads they're creating are junk, right? And that's the constant scenario that I see. And there's not much in between. I haven't
Right.
experienced companies that are in between those two, which is really the perfect scenario, right?
It's so rare, and it feels like if you're in a team. I remember those group projects from school or from college. You're like, I hate this. I have to work with a bunch of weirdos, and they're not going to do their work, and I have to do all the work if I want a good grade. Like, I feel like that's often the perspective of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
But to your point, if we just work together, and it doesn't take liking the other side, doesn't take like doing a lot of work. It's just, hey, what do you need? And here's what I need, and let's do this thing.
Yeah.
You're right. It's so rare. It's this unicorn of what if we both got together and said, what does a good lead look like? And what's going to
Yeah.
happen when
Yes.
we get a lead? And how
Yeah.
will we get leads? Do we make sure we're getting them from the right places? And let's just have that conversation. And if you do that on a regular basis, once a month even, or at least once or twice a quarter at the minimum,
Yeah.
then good things happen. We just have
Yeah.
to communicate and understand expectations because marketing and sales both rely on each other. And the more we realize that, I think the better it'll be for everybody.
When I do I've got a program I call it the 2-day sales camp where if marketing is a department, I often say, look, they have to be part of this. And a lot of the conversation comes back to exactly what you said. Let's define what a lead is and what a lead isn't, right? And who are going to take the steps to screen the lead to make sure we want to pursue it. Is that a marketing effort? Is that a sales effort? And it's all process clarity. And once that's in place, a lot of times that really can help the relationship. But I find, again, enterprise situation, two different leaders, maybe a marketing leader versus a sales leader, two different measures of success. And I think as a result, you end up getting this battle of the minds versus a collaborative approach. So I think that's,
So true.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, it's a big challenge with team structure is different, as you mentioned. Like you might have a BD team, a business development team with BDRs and SDRs, but you might not. And so then is that marketing's job to
yeah,
speak to the leads and qualify them before they pass them off to sales? And what is an MQL versus an SQL? And who
yeah,
defined that? And does marketing agree? And does sales understand that? And there's just so many. And let's not talk about the CRM, like the taboo topic in the room, right? Of like, do we have a CRM? Do we use it? Is it updated? Are there notes in there? Like there's so many challenges with everything that we're doing. And I think it's really going back to the drawing board. And as you said, what is a lead? Let's agree on that.
yeah,
Where do leads come from? Let's talk about that. Where do they go once we get them? Who's going to talk to them? In what order? What
yeah,
do we say to them? Really is this simple. It's just
yeah,
we've never had that conversation. Or if
yeah.
we did, we had it 3 years ago, and then we just assumed that the train would keep going on its tracks forever. And we need to stop and go back and have that conversation again, especially as new team members come in, as the world gets more complicated with marketing and sales.
Yeah.
It's not getting any easier. It's just getting noisier and more complicated.
Exactly. So speaking of noisy and more complicated, let's move on to another question. From your own experience, and obviously you work with marketing directors globally as part of your coaching program. Um, how is AI impacting marketing today? Just more as an information from a sales standpoint. We're not always clear on how marketing is using AI, how it's impacting marketing. Has it turned everything upside down? So I'm curious in your perspective on that.
It's a fascinating world right now with AI because Google's still king, right? Everybody Googles stuff. You still say, let me Google that. And
Yeah.
so search is still number one. And YouTube is the second largest search engine still. So people are searching for content on YouTube. It's
Yeah.
really helpful for me. I'm not handy at all. So if anything breaks, I search YouTube, like, how do I fix this? And I want to watch someone do it. But
Yeah.
Google is still number one. AI, a lot of people are saying everyone's searching on AI and asking ChatGPT and talking to Claude. But in reality, the amount of searches happening there is so small compared
Yeah.
to Google. So it's a big talk, but very little action when it comes
Mm,
to the AI. In addition, with Google, if you and I both ask it the same question, we're going to get very similar answers, almost the same set of answers, most likely. But with
yeah.
AI, if you and I ask it the same question, even if you ask it the same question 2 times in a row, you might get wildly different answers because it is non-deterministic. It's basically a roulette machine. And so
Huh.
we don't know what AI is going to tell you. And it makes
Yeah.
it very hard as marketers or as salespeople to say we can control the answers in an AI and tell it what to tell other people about our company or our business, which means it's very unpredictable and not reliable at all. So right now it is kind of the wild west in marketing, at least with AI, that can we trust it? Are people really using it? We don't really know. Are they asking AI about your business? I don't know. It's hard to say. It depends on your prospects.
Yeah.
Like you said, enterprise level, probably not. Maybe they're asking about different aspects that relate to your business, but they're probably not asking about your business, by name. On a more, B2C side, are people asking, what's the best toy for my cat? Probably,
Yeah.
but that's a much different game than a deep, long sales cycle where there's many moving pieces. And so I think it's the same challenges we've always had in the sales process. Just now we have this new, non-deterministic, unpredictable way about us.
Yeah.
And will it survive? Will it increase? I don't know. But Google is still king. And so we have to continue, I think, as business as usual with 80% and tinker around in this AI world. But it's a lot of, I think, talk more than action right now.
And in fact, I'll take that. I think you're underselling the hype that has been created around AI. I mean, no doubt, and I'm working on my next book, and I just wrote this morning that AI is still in its infancy, really, because we don't know
Yes.
where it's going and how quickly it'll go and what this, I mean, maybe it will replace Google in the next 2 years. Who knows? But everybody is so worked up. I mean, for me, at least, if I go on my LinkedIn stream, there's AI certifications being offered by universities now. And I'm like,
Crazy.
what are you certifying them in? How to use it? Because you can figure that out in your own, and it's still evolving, it's still developing. So there's so much hype around AI and how it's changing the world that your point is interesting to say, look, the main search engines, if we assume that a portion of people that are making a buy decision are going online, right? And they're using some of that online resources, you're saying, hey, look, they're still using the primary channels. Are they using ChatGPT, Claude? Yeah, but we don't really have any stats on to what degree are they doing that. And I think all of us, I'm sure you can speak to the same, have gone on and asked ChatGPT something and gotten the wrong answer or gotten an answer different from last time. And then I like to challenge it and say, well, back in this previous chat, you said this. So which is it? And, oh, you caught me, right? It's the only platform that will kind of apologize, but then
Right.
there's no repercussions. Like, what if I took that information and used that, and then you're like, oh yeah, sorry, I was wrong. Like, okay,
Terrible,
great.
right? Yeah, well,
Oh,
this happened just the other day. My wife went out with some friends and the kids, and they all went on this. We have a train here where I live, and so they took the train, and then they walked around town, down in the nice area. Then they're going to take the train back. Well, one of them had asked ChatGPT what the times were for the train,
yeah,
and so it got them there, but then on the way back, it was wrong, and so had to wait 3 hours for the train to return. And they're like, we can't wait 3 hours. They had to like get a bunch of Ubers and do this whole dance just to get back. And it's like you shouldn't have asked ChatGPT for this. One, it wasn't my wife, thankfully. But two, this is the problem, as you said. Like you can't ask something and get a bad, wrong answer. That ruins the trust incredibly. Like we just talked about, trust is so important. This is
yeah,
why Google is so good for people because we can trust it. We have learned over the years it
yeah,
doesn't give us wrong information. But the minute something gives you a bad answer and embarrasses you or makes you feel dumb or bad or wrong, you're never going back there again, or you're
yeah,
going to be very skeptical of it. And this is the pivotal time of adoption, as you said, for AI. And so for right now to be wrong and bad and misleading is going to erode the chance of any trust being built by it.
yeah.
Later, when they say, oh, we fixed it, it's better, we're never going to really trust it fully. And
Right.
in addition, we know Google. Like we hate losing the things that we know or familiar with.
Yeah.
People are creatures of habit. So psychologically and behaviorally, you Google stuff. That's what you do. That's
Yeah.
what you're always going to do until
Yes.
consumer behavior changes. AI is not going to replace us.
Yeah, that's fair. So you mentioned earlier about, sales and marketing should work more collaboratively. Apparently, I can't speak today, together, and that would result in obviously better sales as the outcome, right? More effective, more efficient selling. Um, what are your thoughts on exactly how to make that happen? Like, if I'm a sales leader listening to this, and I'm looking for insights on how can I partner better with my marketing person or my marketing department, what would you suggest a sales leader do, whether it's meetings, communications, what steps would they take?
This is a great question. There's a couple things you can do. One, as we already said, is define what a lead is. And the more specific you can be, the better. But that's
Yeah.
number one. So, what is a lead? What's the criteria? Write it down, document it, share it so marketing and sales can always see it and talk about that and pass everything through that filter. Number two is to go to your CRM and just make sure that leads are actually getting put in there. And more importantly, look at what leads are in there that have not been contacted. Because I guarantee if you look right now, there's a ton of leads in your CRM that have not been contacted. That doesn't mean it's sales' fault, doesn't mean it's marketing's fault. Forget about fault and blame. Just say, what contacts are in our CRM that have not been contacted in the last 30 days?
Yeah.
Let's take that list and figure out who can do what with it. Marketing can send some emails to those people. We have a message called the instant yes message that gets people to reply. Sales can follow up with some of those people that maybe had a deal, were a client in the past, et cetera. But That is the immediate thing you can do that'll have high impact, high value. And then the third thing I would do is I would establish that process to say, when a lead comes in, what happens to them? Obviously, they go into CRM, but does marketing nurture them? Are there automated emails that go out? Does a BDR reach out to them? We need to define that process
Yeah.
because the speed to lead is still so important. And this is on marketing and on sales that when we get someone who's interested in anything, that's the opportunity to upgrade them to the next thing. And so even on the marketing side, I coach my marketers to say, when someone opts in for anything, a report, a webinar, I don't care what it is, immediately we present them with the next offer, the next invitation to book a meeting with us. And we frame that as value. But this is why speed to lead is so important. And sales needs to understand what's happening to those leads. And marketing needs to know where they can step in and reach out and follow up with them and nurture them.
Yeah. So it's really just clarity on the process and responsibility, like who's responsible for doing what and when's that going to happen? Really, it's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's not complicated,
No.
but almost nobody does it.
Yeah, I know. I know. Then usually that's the way, right? The simplest stuff we
Always.
forget. We're focused on more complex issues, but it's the simple things that will help us move forward.
Yeah, well, to your point earlier, we're focused on like the AI and the automations and let's do all this fancy stuff. It's like, how about we just talk to our leads? You know, if you just did that, you'd have tons of
Novel
business,
idea. I've
right?
got 30 leads. Rather than get AI to talk to them, what if we just call them? And
Right?
yes, I said call. Like pick up the phone.
It's so
Right.
simple.
If there's one thing that, again, I'm assuming that not only, and I shouldn't assume, so you know what that makes me, but assuming we've got sales leaders listening and maybe some marketing folks, marketing directors, et cetera, who are also listening, what's a suggestion if you could offer one piece of advice to either of those that would result in more sales, which in effect both are responsible for, but maybe at different stages? What is a tip, a strategy, a step, something you would suggest that, you know what, if you want more customers, more clients, if you want to make more sales, you need to do this? What would that be?
Be human. And I'll tell you how, but first let's talk about being human. There's a sea right now of AI slap and nonsense online, and everyone's trying to pitch, you know, and if you drop the P, you get itch. People have an itch, and you need to scratch that itch. And so stop pitching people, stop promoting yourself, stop talking about you, and be human. You know, address the things that people are thinking and feeling. So one of my most successful things in the recent past is I serve marketing directors, and they feel like they're on an island. And so I've tapped into this emotion, this feeling that they have. And being human is about identifying people's feelings and having empathy for them. So when I speak about that, marketing directors' eyes light up and they say, that's me. I've been on an island. Get me off this island. And so you have to be human. You have to understand people and relate to them and feel their emotions. But a practical example of this is I host the Marketing Leader Roundtable. It's a free event every month where we invite these people onto it's a webinar, kind of, and we hang out and I teach them stuff and we have some fun. And that's a great way to be human because we're connecting, we're hanging out. There's no agenda. It's not a sales pitch. We're just sharing value and hanging out and having fun and learning some stuff. And of course, I talk about what I do. I'm not hard selling on people. And a lot of people come to me from that and say, this has been helpful. These are my people. This is useful. And so if you're in sales, you can do the same thing. Have an event, have a roundtable, have a VIP session with some of your customers, bring in high value prospects and say, hey, we're just jumping on a call. We're going to talk about what's happening in the industry. We're going to talk about this new change. We're going to showcase one of our clients who had a good result and talk about how they did it. And maybe that involves your product, maybe it doesn't. But just be human and invite people in. People are desperate for connection right now, especially in all this AI nonsense. And the more human you can be, and the more you can connect with other people in a way that's not taking, but giving first and providing connection, amazing things will happen.
It's funny is this morning I deleted several LinkedIn messages that, are absolutely AI generated.
Yes.
People in different roles, so one was a wealth advisor, one was I think a coach for authors. So they're pitching me, right? The pitch piece. And the message is strictly about what they think I need, but we've never spoken. They don't know me. I'm always shocked when I get somebody pitching me on here's how you write your first book. And I love going back and say, well, I've written seven. Like, did you look at my profile? And to your point, and I'll put marketing and sales in the same bucket here, but I'm speaking specifically to salespeople. AI, it can be a great tool and it's exciting because it can help increase your productivity. But as soon as you turn over the conversation, which is where the emotion is, and that conversation can be just a one way me reaching out to you to try and have a conversation. But as soon as we turn that over to AI, it takes away the emotion and it makes it some cold, stale, typically irrelevant garbage that the prospect has seen from every other salesperson. Like we're more than ever before in sales, at least, putting ourselves in the position of just doing what everybody else is doing, not differentiating ourselves. And it's through being a person, being human, as you said, that we do
Yes.
differentiate. And people see that. Like people still want to connect with people. So I think your point is highly relevant that let's find ways to use AI, but let's keep the conversations to the people because that's what prospects want, right? Is that interaction, that
Yes.
conversation. And they see through all this other junk. So you might think, hey, I hit 200 prospects today. How many leads did you get? Well, I got one reply. Okay, what if you called three people on the phone? How would that have worked for you? Saved you a lot of time, and you'd have more of a
Totally.
connection. So I think you're right on. Here's the last question for you, Tim. If you think about now, I know you're working with marketing directors, but you probably hear a lot of, I'm thinking complaints about sales in your roundtables, or at least sometimes you do. What's something that sales teams, sales professionals, or sales leaders who are managing those teams, what's something they need to be aware of? Kind of your future prediction relative to sales and something they should be aware of.
Well, this is where I do think AI will come in, or at least some of the automations to help raise awareness to the things that they're perhaps missing. One of the biggest complaints marketers have about sales, no surprise, is that the CRM, is not updated or that there are leads sitting in there that haven't been contacted.
Yeah.
So I think this is, where the follow-up is important. And I know that salespeople are busy and they prioritize their leads. But if there are leads in there, they're not being contacted, that is going to become more visible whether they want it to be or not. And so I would say developing the process on the sales side to make sure there is, again, some process that happens to those leads. Otherwise, you will get called out. I think this is inevitable. We're seeing the new evolution of CRM systems where some of that will be automated. They'll automatically reach out to these people for you on your behalf.
Yeah.
Don't know how I feel about that. But the
Yeah.
other part is there will be more visibility. And now AI can process more of your inbox and your messages on your phone and stuff like that. And so in the past, you could hide and maybe you messaged some people, maybe you didn't. That information was out there. It was hard to consolidate and aggregate. In the future, we're going to see more communication systems that bring this all together. And then the level of transparency will increase, which will be a good thing.
Yeah.
But temporarily, it'll be a challenge because there's a lot of balls being dropped right now. And we need to deal with those. And hopefully, in a way that can prioritize, as we're saying here, the human touch
Yeah.
versus just AI spamming people, which is not going to be productive.
Absolutely. So, first off, I want to thank you for taking time. I've had the pleasure of sitting in and seeing your coaching program firsthand, and it blows my mind not only the structure and the value that marketing directors get from everything you're sharing, from just insights to even new technology that you personally are developing, which blows my mind. So, if anybody is watching or listening that is a sales leader, and you have a marketing director on your team or in your company, I'd highly suggest you send them a note and say, check out this Tim Parkin guy. But if anybody does want to reach out to you and connect directly, Tim, how would they best reach you?
The best way is on LinkedIn, where I post almost every day, sometimes multiple times. So find me on LinkedIn, Tim Parkin, Parkin. Would love to connect, share ideas, and perhaps you can join the next roundtable and hang out with a bunch of marketers.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, again, I want to thank you so much for your time. And I thank you for everybody that has joined us. Again, whether you're watching this or listening to it, thanks so much for spending some time. Hopefully, you gained, if not some insights, some clarity that'll help prioritize how you move forward in your day. And as I always like to end off any of these with, if you're in sales, time to hang up the phone, get offline, and go sell something. So thanks again, Tim, for joining us. And we'll talk to everybody again soon. Take care.